Good afternoon. I am Reverend Rebecca Dunn, and I welcome you to the 2024 Transgender Day of Remembrance Vigil, sponsored by PFLAG Great Lakes Bay Region. We'd also like to express our thanks to the good people here at First United Methodist Church for their support in allowing us to use their sanctuary for this vigil. We're grateful for your presence here with us as we recall the transgender and non-binary individuals here in the United States whose lives were lost between October 1st, 2023 and September 30, 2024. Some were taken by acts of violence by others. Nearly half of those lives were taken by their own hand. In total, the lives of 411 transgender and non-binary people were lost to us around the world this past year. 70 of them, were here in the United States, and those are just the ones we know about. The deaths of transgender people are often unrecorded and overlooked because of misgendering by police, emergency responders, medical professionals, and media reporting. In 1999, trans activists Gwendolyn Ann Smith, Nancy Nangeroni, and Jahaira D'Alto organized the first Transgender Day of Remembrance and created a web project called Remembering Our Dead to memorialize Rita Hester, Chanel Pickett, and other transgender homicide victims. When the Transgender Day of Remembrance first began, trans people were nameless victims in many cases, Smith wrote in 2014 in The Advocate. Our killers would do their best to erase our existence from the world, and law enforcement, the media, and others would continue the job. So far in 2024, a record 664 bills in 43 states have been introduced to block trans people from receiving health care, education, legal recognition, via changes to state IDs and birth records, and the right to publicly exist. That makes this the 5th consecutive record-breaking year for total number of anti-trans bills considered in the United States. This follows an incredible surge in 2023, which tripled the record the year before. 45 of these bills have passed. Thankfully, 492 of them have failed, and 127 are still active. 274 bills carried over from the year before and are still under consideration. As anti-trans legislation increasingly moves to the national level, an unprecedented 81 bills were introduced at the federal level in 2024. Because of bills like these, transgender individuals are often pushed into situations that put them at greater risk, like unemployment, poverty, homelessness, and survival sex work. When you dehumanize people, violence against them is not far behind. These bills not only target trans people, but threaten with fines and imprisonment those who would offer direction or assistance, such as healthcare professionals, educators, and even parents. I've read of many families who have left their jobs and homes and fled to more trans-friendly states, some even moving to other countries because they feel the U.S. is no longer a safe space for them or their trans loved ones. And the despair, fear, and hopelessness of those who took their own lives is something I personally knew 33 years ago. After this most recent election, there were some on the left blaming the trans community for the losses incurred by the Democratic Party. There are even some gay and lesbian people who wish to separate from us. But this is a time when we need to stand together. There is fear and anxiety among trans people with the election of those who wish to erase us from public life and who have vowed to come after us once they've been sworn into power. A record $215 million was spent on anti-trans ads across the country this past election cycle. The day after the election, I wept as I saw post after post on social media by trans individuals talking about detransitioning, going stealth, or fleeing. I saw organizations, including ours, posting suicide hotline numbers for those who are feeling despondent. But I also read many posts of those who choose to stand up, to stay visible, and fight for the kind of world where trans people can live openly and freely as our authentic selves. We still believe in the power of doing what is right and just and good, and we refuse to relinquish hope. As for those souls who left us in this past year, it's with deep sadness that we recognize and honor their lives. We won't be reading biographical information on each person, nor will we read accounts of how they died. Frankly, some of the details were quite horrific. Instead, we'll read their names and tell of who some of them were and how they were lovingly thought of by their families, friends, and communities. Let's take this time now to remember our dead.
Alan O'Donnell, 20 years old, Brockport, New York. He was described by his aunt as crazy, smart and curious, funny, sweet and shy. He loved bugs and anime and Asian cultures and languages. He was studying biology and wanted to become a pharmacist.
Skylar Harrison Reeves, 30, Washington, D.C.
China Long, 30, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Raquel Willis, in her memoir entitled The Risk It Takes to Bloom, wrote, "China, you should be here. Every time I speak your name, I feel like I'm not doing enough that I never could. I want our Black trans sisters to live freely, to be revered for embracing transformation, for defying the stifling boxes of essentialism. We are grand possibility models, but we also deserve our humanity. We are not satellites floating isolated in some dark sky. We are tethered to those around us. We have loved ones, families, and friends. You make me believe that we change these dynamics by giving honor to those we've lost, caring for those still here, and building in the service of those yet to come. I will carry your name on my tongue and your legacy on my shoulders. I will keep wondering who you could have been in the world if the world had loved you the way you deserved."
Rainey Baker, Portland, Oregon.
Chris Velasquez, 37, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Chris possessed so many beautiful attributes. Their amiable disposition, smart wit, and can-do spirit are well known. Always seeking new experiences, Their adventurous spirit drove them to take many different courses in life. Chris led a full life, and those who were lucky enough to know them could find joy in their loyalty, their creativity, their mischievous humor, their dance and movement, and their compassion.
Dominic Dupre, 25, Chicago, Illinois.
Ani Robertson, 30, Washington, D.C.
River Page Olmsted, 17, Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Lisa Love Truman, 35, Chicago, Illinois.
London Price, 26, Miami-Dade, Florida.
Maya Finch, 36, Boston, Massachusetts.
Naomi McNew, Kokomo, Indiana. Naomi was an avid gamer. They were also a magically talented artist and graphic designer, creating unbelievable beauty. They had a penchant for the cheesiest of B-movies, musicals, and show tunes. And it must be said, a lifelong, totally devoted Star Wars fan. They enjoyed their weekend breakfast tradition with Dad and shopping, manicure, and lunch trips with Mom.
Lola LaPerla Ebony McDaniels, Newark, New Jersey.
Kwan Richardson, 21, Toledo, Ohio.
Amiri Jean Reed, 21, Toledo, Ohio.
Shandon Floyd, 20, Columbia, South Carolina.
Savannah Ryan Williams, 38, Minneapolis, Minnesota. Savannah was fierce, full of life. She had a big personality and an even bigger heart. She's going to be dearly, dearly missed, her sister said. She loved having fun, watching movies, and listening to slow love songs. Gabrielle Stillday said her older sister would insist on giving the shoes off her feet and was the favorite auntie to her nieces and nephews.
Demita Jo Armstrong, Washington, D.C.
Madison, Montana, 26, Los Angeles, California. Madison was always an amazing presence to behold. They were uplifting and full of energy and creativity. Madison helped me break out of my shell and find the confidence in myself. They took me to places I would have never found or otherwise be too terrified to go. The world was a lot brighter place when you were around them. Madison was a beacon that shined bright with unabashed creativity, kindness, compassion, and love. I truly hope you found your peace, and I miss you and cherish the time we had together.
Care Hansen, 21, Riverton, Utah. Care had an amazing love for all animals and living creatures. As a young child, they loved to pet bees and hold spiders and snakes. Care had many pets throughout life, including a cat, turtle, ferrets, snake, lizards, fish, frogs, and toads, rats, chickens, hamsters, and various birds that Care rescued and rehabilitated. Care was currently working to get a nursing program and could be found studying hard for finals right up until their passing. One of Care's favorite hobbies was to participate as a background actor in movies and TV shows. Care was an extra in several films, including The Chosen and some Hallmark and similar Christmas movies, several seasons of the High School Musical series, and others. Care's other accomplishments include working with special needs children, volunteering in the LGBTQIA+ community, working as a CNA through the pandemic, and traveling throughout the world doing humanitarian work. To our dear, wonderful Care, your presence in our lives is one of the greatest gifts we could have ever received. You brought so much joy and beauty into the world. We take comfort in the knowledge that you are no longer suffering, but life without you is going to be so hard. We will miss you every day.
Trip Schultz, 31, Salt Lake City, Utah. To know Trip was to immediately love Trip. He had a smile that lit up a room and a blooming, contagious laugh that instantly drew people to want to meet him. He was a fiercely loyal friend to anyone he met and would go to the ends of the earth to help and protect those in need. Trip was a strong advocate, participating in peaceful protest and shielding members of his community. He could be found joyously participating in LGBTQIA+ celebrations and advocating for the queer community. Trip also loved children and also rose to action in championing for their safety. Kids adored Trip and found kinship in his forever young personality in the safe space he created. He always extended his hand to those who felt lost or scared and found continuous respite in his company. Tripp was an avid musician, playing bass guitar in multiple bands and touring with his bandmates. He enjoyed camping and being in nature, often surrounded by friends. He enjoyed working with his hands and had a natural skill in carpentry and mechanics. He took special interest in robotics, space exploration, and theoretical physics.
Amber Miner, 40, Raytown, Missouri.
Megan Riley Lewis, 53, Bel Air, Maryland.
Lexus Walker, 43, Norfolk, Virginia.
Kitty Monroe, 43, Phoenix, Arizona.
Blair Christoph, Dallas, Texas.
Giselle Stone, 20, New York City, New York. Giselle was an artist, and her art had no boundaries. Painting, poetry, textile design, music, hair, and the list goes on. And no recounting of Giselle's life would be complete without acknowledging a huge love of avocado toast, ramen, and the cake she made that made it possible to fit into jeans after the holidays. Giselle was a sophomore at Savannah College of Art and Design and had a bright future in sustainable fashion and textiles. Sustainability and care for our world informed all aspects of the way she lived her life, from care of animals and veganism to care for the community, to care for friends, family, and loved ones. Giselle was proudly Jewish, with strong ties to the Orangeburg Jewish Center, and lived life trying to embody Jewish values. Struggle in life is present for all of us, and we marveled at Giselle's fortitude in dealing with personal struggles, both her and the struggles of others. Always, always, always being kind, loving, and more compassionate to others than her own well-being. Baruch Dayan Anet.
Galila Elizabeth Eob, also known as Gigi, 25, Damascus, Maryland.
Quinn Joy, Iowa.
James Moen, 23, Grand Junction, Colorado.
Sasha Williams, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Catherine Maria Otterston, Fairbanks, Alaska.
Africa Perea Garcia, 25, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Cecilia Gentili, 52, New York City, New York.
Next, Benedict, 16, Owasso, Oklahoma.
Noah Jackson Chase, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ashton Miles Clatterbuck, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. To those who knew him, Ashton was easy to describe. A magnetic personality with a big laugh and quick wit, a voracious reader and fast marathon runner, a sharp writer and tireless activist who sought out injustice and called for change. Declan Rupp of Lancaster came to give support to the transgender community that he said simply wants to be accepted, but is instead met with endless scrutiny and vilification. In the news, in politics, and at school board meetings, Rupp said there is an urgent need for young trans people to feel accepted and know where to turn when they need help navigating gender identity, family, and the stresses of being targeted by politicians and activist groups.
Righteous Torrance Hill, 35, Atlanta, Georgia.
Diamond Brigman, 36, Houston, Texas.
Alex Taylor Franco, 21, Lehi, Utah.
Meraxes Medina, 24, Los Angeles, California.
Adrian Fox Bollinger, 20, Saratoga Springs, New York.
Yella Clark, 45, Angola, Louisiana.
T. Arnold, 36, Hallandale Beach, Florida. Arnold's family and friends paid tribute in social media posts, noting his supportive nature. I thank you for always answering the phone when I was lost, for never being afraid to tell me when I'm wrong, telling me to pray when I was weak, always offering words of encouragement, friend Cece Gates wrote on Facebook. Thank you for blessing the world with your greatness, laughter, and good energy, Gates added. Thank you for showing the world that there's nothing better than being your true, authentic self.
River Nevaeh Goddard, 17, Stowe, Massachusetts.
Basil Brown, 21, Lafayette, Louisiana.
Star Brown, 28, Memphis, Tennessee.
Andrea Doria dos Passos, 37, Miami, Florida.
Alistair Matthews, 17, Lockport, Illinois. Said his best friend, "There are so many things that I could tell the world about Alistair Matthews. I could tell you how he was never afraid to be himself. I could tell you how unapologetically unique he was from the way he dressed to the way he spoke. I could tell you how he had freckles on his cheeks and the bridge of his nose like little star, and on the bridge of his nose like little stars that I'd give tiny kisses to just to see him smile. I could tell you how he saw value in every life, no matter how small.
Derry Moore, 23, St. Genevieve, Missouri.
Keita B., 46, Kansas City, Missouri.
Jaslyn Johnson, 18, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Tay Dior Thomas, 17, Mobile, Alabama.
Michelle Henry, 25, San Francisco, California.
Joshua Kimo Rainforest Larang Malor Jr., 31, Denver, Colorado.
Liara Kaylee Tsai, 35, Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Paulie Likens, 14, Sharpsville, Pennsylvania.
M. Tapia, 52, Denver, Colorado.
Kenji Simonta Spurgeon, 23, Seattle, Washington. Kenji's former teacher, Malia Burns, said, Kenji was a bright light in our lives, known for an infectious smile and quick wit. Kenji had an extraordinary ability to uplift anyone around with laughter, a joke, a song, or a dance. Though many of us have not met Kenji in the flesh, we feel the power of her light even through photos and the stories shared by her loved ones. We know that young people, especially Black trans young folk, are the key to overturning the world riddled with anti-Blackness, transphobia, misogynoir, and premature death. So we honor the lives Kenji's touched, and we grieve the future possibilities of the world Kenji may have ushered into if given the opportunity at life.
Shannon Boswell, 30, Atlanta, Georgia.
Ev Smith, 16, Norman, Oklahoma.
Monique Brooks, 49, Orlando, Florida.
Dylan Gurley, 20, Denton, Texas.
Vanity Williams, 34, Houston, Texas.
Tavion Lathan, 24, Baltimore, Maryland.
Indiana Grayson, 27.
Haseen Omar, 29, Columbus, Ohio.
Barbie Iceland, Chicago, Illinois.
Cass Tristera, Bellingham, Washington.
We also remember with great affection Lynn Ann Conway, 86, of Jackson, Michigan. Lynn was a reserved but exceptionally bright student who attended MIT, but did not graduate due to a difficult and ultimately unsuccessful gender transition. Conway continued education at Columbia University, where she earned BS and MSEE degrees in 1962 and 63 respectively. In 1964, Conway accepted a position as a researcher at IBM's facility in Yorktown Heights, New York. There, she worked with others on an advanced supercomputer project. She was fired in 1968 when it became known that she intended to transition. IBM later apologized for that action. That same year, Lynn consulted Dr. Harry Benjamin and became a patient. She completed her gender transition also in 1968. In a divorce, she was denied the right to visit with her minor children. Using her new name, Lynn continued to work as a computer research scientist, working at Computer Applications Incorporated, Memorex, Xerox PARC, and DARPA. In 1985, she became a professor of electrical engineering and computer science at the University of Michigan, and simultaneously Associate Dean of Engineering. Lynn's post-transition accomplishments were foundational in the development of computers, but her pre-transition work was not credited to her until 1998, when a researcher who was examining IBM's 3 decades-old supercomputer project discovered that a scientist he'd been unable to identify had become known as Lynn Conway. For Lynn, this resulted in a difficult decision to come out as transgender. She has since been hailed not only for her myriad post-transition accomplishments, but for her earlier work. She's famous for, among many other things, launching the Meade-Conway VLSI chip design revolution with Carver Meade. Without Lynn's pioneering work, the computer and electronic revolutions of the 1980s probably would not have been possible. After she retired in '99, she became one of the most visible trans people in the USA. Her empathy, creativity, strength, and leadership made her a role model for many trans people worldwide, including me. Her website was inspirational and one of the first I discovered when I finally got online. On her site, she told her personal story and worked to advance the rights of trans people. Even if one were to ignore Lynn's technical achievements, the contents of her website alone were enormously impactful at the beginning of the 21st century, containing as it does not only many detailed resources for trans people, but also gallery and biography pages, such as transsexual women's successes and successful trans men, links and photos, which for the first time illustrated the breadth, variety, and creativity of our community. In a world before social media, that alone was incredibly impactful, as the contents of such pages directly challenged the media stereotypes of trans people prevalent at that time. In 2002, Lynn married her longtime boyfriend, Charles Rogers. They lived on a 24 acre wooded property in rural Michigan, and she passed away in June of natural causes. At this time, I'd like to invite any of you who've had trans friends or loved ones in your life who may have passed away this past year to please share their name and where they were from.
This December marks the 10-year anniversary of when my friend Jay Relko took his life.
Recently, Clea Strange passed away from leukemia, and it was, she was very interested in trying to live until the election was over. But unfortunately, she passed away a few days before the election. And the memorial service was very nice. It was in Morgan State, basically. She was in her 50s. Her struggle in transition was fairly recent, the last few years, and she was a very wonderful person to know, and we will be sadly missed.
Thank you, Bob.
The support group in Bay City area was Delilah this year. She just mentally suffered a lot and just couldn't do it anymore. A wonderful person, everyone that knew her loved her. She faced a lot of rejection in her life. She's one of you who can call me.
So we remember them. We honor their lives. We mourn all that they were and could have been. May they rest in power. May they rest in peace. May they rest in love's presence. Aho, Amin, Ashe, Amen. So it is and shall be. My reason for focusing on the positives of their lives is to let you know that there's so much more to us than death. We're human beings with hopes and dreams and goals, with families of origins, families of choice. As you've heard, my trans siblings are multifaceted. They are kind and generous, giving even from their own need. They are powerful. They are tireless workers for justice. They are creators. They are musicians and artists and writers and poets, and they have so much to teach, so much to say, so much to do and give. Like all of you, we only want to truly be loved and to love, to be treated with kindness and allowed to participate in life and pursue our happiness without people setting roadblocks before us at every turn. Get to know us, listen to us, learn from us, support us, stand with us, and see if your life isn't changed for the better for having done so. I want to thank you all for coming today. On behalf of PFLAG Great Lakes Bay Region, I invite all of you to join us just outside the doors for refreshments and social time, followed by our support session. There are takeaways if you would like. We have booklets that talk about trans experience and how you can be a better ally to trans people. And we have Transgender Lives Matters pins and bookmarks on the counter. And I'm here if you'd like to talk. Thank you again. Love and peace.